And since this situation happened, I hadn't seen the situation graphically before, what seemed like a story, a controversy that could even be childish over a land issue. And it made this thing in my head to justify what I was reading. Excuse me.
One question. When you say graphically, do you mean images, graphics, or data?
To visualizations.
Images or data? Oh, not images? Okay, images of the conflict are the images with data.
They are not multimedia data.
Not images about the conflict. Okay.
Sure. So I hadn't seen yet the media coverage that was being handled in that area because I live on this side and we don't get that much information anymore. But as I started to read more myself, and I started to realize before this conflict began that some things in that story didn't add up. That's when I switched sides, not long before October 7th, much earlier. So I was already starting to express my pro-Palestinian views, not against the genocide. And, well, when this happened, I was really one of the first. I was one of the first to announce the Jewish Messiah. I call him the Jewish Messiah. The one you are waiting for has already arrived. It's him, it's Netanyahu, and I saw his announcements. I saw how he dehumanized in the announcement and said what he was going to do. Not after he waits. Here, let me understand, up to this point, at the Nova Festival, yes.
Excuse me, I want to, let's say, so it doesn't turn into a monologue. Yes, I don't think this is a dispute over territory because Israel gave Gaza to the Gazan population in 2005. They gave them everything to build a country and accomplish something, but they didn't.
How could they give it to them? How could they give it to them? Israel?
Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005.
And they?
Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005.
I mean, spoiled. Why did they get involved?
Israel?
Why did they get involved? Why? Because in 1967...
I'll explain it to you.
In 1967, that they got involved.
Do you think it's a good thing?
Well, I don't know.
How did Israel get into Gaza before 2005? How did Israel enter Gaza? What was it like? Why did Israel have a presence in Gaza before 2005?
Conquering.
Say, why did Israel conquer Gaza before 2005?
Because of a story. Which story does the story tell? The story of the promise of the promised land in Canaan, of Jericho, the genocide that happened in Jericho.
Jericho is a city located in Judea and Samaria. We're talking about Gaza, which is a different geographic city.
Do you know where Israel is on a map, where Jerusalem is? Jerusalem was conquered. I mean, it's an ideology of land theft and dispossession of the people who work there. I want to ask you something.
Do you think Israel is a theocracy?
I know it's a theocracy.
I mean, do you think the people who founded Israel were rabbis or something like that?
I know you don't have a constitution, so I don't know what laws you use to guide your morals.
Is there a declaration of independence of Israel?
There is a Declaration of Independence. No, not the one from the International Court. Not the one from United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Not the one from Amnesty International. Not from any known civilized organization. Is that mentally ill person the Jewish Messiah being handled? I don't understand what they're telling you. Let me explain why. Israel?
I'm going to explain why you didn't understand anything. Israel was founded by Jews who were primarily secular, atheists. In the Declaration of Independence, the name of God doesn't even appear in the Declaration of Independence. It says, there's a line, we extend our hand. For us, we extend our hand. Let there be peace with the Arab neighbors. Does it say that? What's going on? In 1967, what was called the Six-Day War began. The Six-Day War. It was a conflict where several Arab countries at the same time, including Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, Egypt controlled Gaza from 1947 to 1967. Egypt controlled Gaza when Egypt went to war with Israel in a defensive war against several Arab countries. At the same time, it manages to repel the Egyptian attack, and that's how Israel pushes Egypt back to the Sinai Peninsula.
Israel. Later, in the 80s, Israel makes peace with Egypt and returns the Sinai Peninsula to them.
Israel was also going to give Gaza to the Egyptians, but the Egyptians didn't want Gaza. Israel did. Israel gave the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt so there would be peace.
Because Israel doesn't have this supposed expansionist project of ethnic genocide. I don't get what we're talking about. We're talking about the 6-Day War, where Israel later, to make peace with Egypt, returned the Sinai, and when they were going to return Egypt, they refused. And what happens is that Israel ends up with Gaza, without wanting to have Gaza. In 2005, Israel gets fed up with the situation. Israel withdraws from Gaza because Israel never wanted to control 1.5 million Gazans. We're not interested. That's a demographic difficulty. For us, it's not easy. So Israel withdraws from Gaza in 2005, and the war that you are witnessing happens. Israel, theocracy. Israel is a democracy. Primarily, it's a secular country. The only theocracy you see is actually Gaza. The Gazans are a theocracy. The constitution of Hamas, the founding charter of Hamas, says Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam destroys it. They speak in religious terms. They quote a hadith that says, "O Muslim, the day will come when the Muslims will kill the Jews." You quote texts from the Islamic religion to justify yourselves, because Hamas has no right to try to wipe out the Jews. Israel doesn't do that. Israel is not a theocracy. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but please, literally, historically, that's what happened.
Oh, let's see. You say that Israel is not a theocracy.
Excuse me, you know that when there were votes about whether to give up Gaza or not, Netanyahu voted in favor of giving up Gaza. So when you called me a Jew...
Netanyahu, who has this project, Netanyahu voted in favor of giving up Gaza.
What do you mean? Netanyahu wanted to give up Gaza in 2005.
Why did Netanyahu remove only the Jews who were living in Gaza? 50,000 Jews who weren't settlers, who had lived there their whole lives, lived there? Why did he remove them all in 2005 and there, where you say they evacuated? Why did Netanyahu do that? Because if he hadn't removed the Jews, not only did he remove the Jews, it was precisely to create a vacuum there, to put the blender there, it was to protect. Of course, to avoid controversy within his own group. So, precisely, he had to eliminate them then. Let me correct you. Was the person who removed the Jews from Gaza acting in support of Greater Israel? That's what he's accomplishing, that's what you support, yet you pretend not to notice and say nonsense. When we know it's nothing for all these years, we know the bait that Gabriel has. You are Gabriel, right? Tell me then, please. You come here with your nonsense, but honestly, I don't tolerate genocide. I mean, honestly, people are rude when... Wait, but tell me, who is saying the nonsense? And even worse, when they benefit from crime and lies. So, is that the truth, dear? No, that's not the truth.
Because Netanyahu wasn't the one who gave up Gaza?
The one who handed over Gaza was you. Who was it? Wait, who was it? You who know everything? Who was the prime minister when Israel handed over Gaza? You've talked enough, and I've listened enough. No, I'm just correcting you. Listen closely, personally. But wait, this can't be a monologue. It must be a dialogue. The destruction of the state of Israel, not by death. I don't want anyone to be killed. I don't want genocide. Of course you do, because if you support Hamas, you want genocide. If you support Hamas, you want genocide. From the United Nations. And global corruption is corrected, because they are global corruption. They are the world's filth. Wait, they are filth that they don't see. Why don't you have energy in your... Where are you? Aren't you coming through the airports?
Why do you have blackouts where you live? Why don't you have a power plant where you live? Why does your power go out? Why?
Jacob, I have a question for Gabriel.
Wait, I mean for Gabriel, because he's really lost, he says. No, it's just that you only talk nonsense. Look, he's the one talking about Israel being a theocracy. He's the one talking about Jericho.
We're discussing the book of Joshua in the Bible, not related to anything else, just about Joshua. We're discussing a Hamas attack and how Gaza was handed over by an Israeli authority. It wasn't Netanyahu who gave up Gaza, but Ariel Sharon. Still, he's claiming Netanyahu did it in 2005. Netanyahu in 2005 wasn't even prime minister. You don't know what you're talking about. That's why you're on the wrong side of history, because you don't know the facts. Something that characterizes my audience is that they know the facts, and that's why they're on the right side of history. When you mention genocide, there isn't one. The only attempted genocide was by Hamas against Israel on October 7th. To wipe out the Jewish population, Israel has no intention of wiping out the Gazan population. On the contrary, Israel gives warnings, and we know all the precautions that Israel takes. I don't understand. I mean, maybe in court you could argue that Israel is a theocracy. Israel, which is literally criticized by Orthodox groups like Neturei Karta, who are anti-Zionist Jews who oppose the Israeli government. Why? Because it's a secular government, and now you're telling me it's a theocracy? No, right? I mean, did you understand everything backwards? I don't understand. I don't understand. Did you leave or did you have a blackout?
Sergio from Costa Rica, also greetings to the colleague who left. Well, the facts beat stories. It's that simple.
Well,
The data from a sequence that is from a historical line. What you just told Gabriel from Ecuador is totally correct. The data is correct. That is the timeline of what has happened in the Holy Land, what we here in Costa Rica know as the Holy Land. They may not like the data from Yaakov, from Jewish philosophy, but that's how it is. Those are facts.
yes, it's just that it's difficult. One thing is to come with extremely outlandish narratives like saying that Israel is a theocracy and the project of the Jewish Messiah. Netanyahu como Josué.
I don't know where they get that from. I really don't know where they get that from.
I do.
For example, Gabriel, who is the first one, is the first one I hear. Right. In all the debates you've had right here that Israel is a theocracy. No, Iran is a theocracy. That's a theocracy where, what are they called? The leader, the Ayatollah.
The Ayatollah?
The Ayatollahs, they are the ones who rule based on their interpretations of what they believe the Quran says. And that's how they also rule over society, the economy, and Iran's international policies. That's a theocracy. And regarding what Gabriel said about all the string of offenses, because in reality they are offenses, saying that Israel was the trash of the United Nations, that they should leave. And there, well, what a shame. It's a recognized country. It's a recognized country. The only countries
What's more?
that don't want to recognize Israel. They are the Arab neighbors, but the rest of the civilized world, including Asians.
Including Arab countries, including countries like Morocco, Egypt, and including the Palestinian Authority, recognize Israel. It's incredible. It's impressive.
I mean, but Yaakov, look, for example, I mean, the West, you know that?